Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the final day of our Agentic AI workshop. Today brings us together the technology, industry, and innovation. Over the past 2 days, we have been on an incredible journey together. We began by exploring how agentic AI is redefining the future of intelligent systems. Yesterday, we rolled up our sleeves and built our own AI agents, transformed ideas into solutions, and saw firsthand how innovation happens when technology meets creativity. Today, we bring that journey full circle. Our focus shifts from building intelligent agents to understanding how they are being adopted, deployed, and scaled across industries. We will hear from experienced leaders who are shaping the future of AI, explore practical agentic workflows using Hermes, and discover how modern AI infrastructure empowers developers build faster and smarter. So let's begin our final day. Artificial intelligence is evolving faster than ever. Every few months, we witness breakthroughs that redefine what's possible. But as AI systems become more autonomous, new questions emerge. How will agentic AI transform businesses? What challenges will
This meeting
organizations
is
face
being
as
recorded.
intelligent agents become part of everyday workflows? How do we balance innovation with responsibility? These are exactly the conversations we will explore in our first session today. I am delighted to welcome our distinguished panel for the session Agentic For the session, Agentic Fireside When AI Takes the Wheel. Joining us today are the leaders whose experience spans enterprise AI, semiconductor technologies, telecommunications, business transformation, and emerging technologies. Our moderator for today's discussion is Professor Harikumar Shantibhavan, Professor of Practice at the School of Computer Science and Engineering, Avi University, who has guided us throughout this workshop with his expertise and passion for agentic AI. Joining him on stage virtually are Mr. Rakshit Rao, IBM Watsonx Data Sales Leader for Asia Pacific region. He is a successful entrepreneur and a former member of the Forbes Technology Council. He previously led Google Cloud Apache Sales for Southeast Asia and Hong Kong. Joining us online from Singapore, he brings extensive expertise in enterprise AI, data platforms, and digital transformation. Next, Mr. Arun Nair, Director of Global Business Development at
I
ING
am
Spark Private
private.
Limited, Munich, Germany. Joining us online from Germany, he brings valuable international perspectives on technology, innovation, and business information. Next, Mr. Shivanand Male, technology leaders and investor partner at Mahasemi, joining us online with extensive experience in technology leadership, product engineering, and deep tech innovation. And finally, Ms. Renganayaki S., Principal System Architecture at Nokia Networks, joining us online, whose work focuses on designing next generation telecommunication systems and advancing network technologies. I heartily welcome all our panelists. Let's give us a round of applause for our panelists and welcome Mr. Professor Toverty. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Lisa, for the extraordinary welcome message. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Very good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the Agentic Fireside. So we are joined by an extraordinary panel today, leaders from IBM, Nokia, Mahasemi, and Inspark. And these are architects of tomorrow, building systems that think, act, and adapt. Let me share what we have witnessed over the past 2 days. 50 participants, students, researchers, professionals built agentic loops from zero. They deployed Hermes agent on laptops in a lightning-fast 90-minute ideation sprint. 2 teams built working demos, real applications, real impact. But here is a catch. They also discovered the reality of token economics. Agents are voracious. They consume tokens at an alarming rate, and that leads to a big question. So to our panelists, in 1 or 2 minutes, tell us Are we riding the wave of a new industrial revolution, or are we fueling an expensive engine with no road ahead? And for the students and professionals here, what should they bet their careers on? We would love to hear your thoughts. So over.
Sure.
Yeah, you're not audible. You're on mute. Yeah. You're audible.
Great. So what you rightly said was essentially about where we are, especially with every new technology or a transformation curve that we see. Everyone brings in terms of the how do we leverage the new technologies, how do we make sure that we can put them into real world applications, how do we bring value to our customers, how do we make sure that enterprises can scale to deliver those value. But like you rightly pointed out, a lot of the journeys that we have witnessed so far, whether it is the internet boom or the mobile app transformation or people leveraging how can they actually leverage cloud, everything has given time for organizations to adapt, change, and run. What we are seeing with AI is one of those disruptive changes, which has essentially cut short the overall transformation hype from what usually takes a decade to 15 years to a span of 3, 4 years. So, which essentially means the learning curve for folks have been pretty high. And the euphoria of can we make sure that we can deliver value quickly has something that everybody has been on to. Where it brings to the current bearing is it overhyped? Is there value we can deliver? The obvious answer is yes. Are we doing things the right way? Are we doing it quicker and faster that it needs to be adapted? That is where people are actually faltering. So organizations are now getting to have to balance from the hype to reality. That is where we are now at the crux of this is something that's going to stay. This is something that everybody needs to adapt to. But how and what form is what will define success for both students here as well as for organizations that are actually going to be using them.
Thank you, Rakshit, for that wonderful insight. Next, Arun, would you like to go next?
Sure, yeah. I think, as you said, this is definitely a new revolution which is starting because see, automation and things have been there for quite some time, and typically whenever new technology comes, it's natural people will resist change, right? I mean, you don't want to accept anything right away. But in this case, over the past, I think, let's say 6 to 8 months, it has been evolving very fast. Means the tools are becoming more mature, and many organizations in different domains are already using it, and they are seeing the benefits. So it's important actually to make it into a reality where the doubts are. The organizations have to change their culture. They need to, from the leadership level, they need to look at how, what is the benefit of using this. What can I make my products faster? What is the value that this AI is bringing in? I think that is something which has to be driven from the top. And many organizations, why we see that the adaptation is very slow, it is because organizations have to change from the top down. And I mean, it's not only engineering, it's also procurement, it's also HR. Every section or every unit can use this to benefit. So definitely AI is there to say. There's a saying which I saw recently, that engineers who are not getting into AI will be replaced by engineers who know AI. So this is what is the reality is.
Oh, thank you, Arun, for that absolutely fantastic thoughts on how AI is going to change our life and the way we are going to do business. So next, I would like Ranganayagi to pitch in. And as you know, Nokia is in the news and the stock skyrocketing after the collaboration after NVIDIA decided to invest $1 billion into Nokia and being the pioneer in pioneering the AI. And you are most qualified to talk about this all this situation. Ranganayagi, over to you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir. So, yes, so like all the experts have mentioned so far, so I think we are in a phase where AI has become part and parcel of life. So if I target the second part of the question, right? So what is in for the students in this room? So for the students in this room, yes, AI has become an essential skill. It is not a niche skill anymore. Um, but one piece of interesting information that I would like to share here is the domain still remains the key. So whatever stream you are in, so that is very important. The basics are still important. AI is only the layer on top of it, which you can use, which you can probably use as your pair programmer or as a co-worker, but continue to learn the domain that you are in.
Oh, thanks, Ranganayaki. Thank you very much for your thoughts, for sharing your thoughts. Now, I would like to move to Shivanand Mali. Please share your thoughts, Shivanand.
Yeah, I think everybody is excited at the same time, little bit, scared what this AI is going to do for us. I am going to cover today about the hardware aspect of what car did to the bullock cart, what a mobile did to the telephone. The same now AI is going to bring that kind of transformation. I hope that's a small summary. I would like to see what you can see the kind of transformation with AI. And AI with it in terms of hardware, when we started initial AI GPUs, there were like CPUs or GPUs, which mean classically for programming or graphics. They have done this much revolution what you are seeing today, but now dedicatedly we are doing AI accelerators, AI engines, and the kind of requirement we understood, and based on that we have speculated some additional requirements. So now with uh, dedicated AI engines which are doing 1,000 by 1,000 cross matrix multiplication with floating point, and then seamless connectivity with the different stack within the servers. I think that is going to accelerate further. So it's like a upward spiral we are going to see in the AI, and we are going to get more and more momentum. That's what I would like to say. And with that thought, I will say this is just a beginning. Thank you.
Thanks, Shivanand, for that insights coming from the hardware expert. So many of us are, for us, it's still an unfamiliar territory. So now we have just spent 2 days understanding and building agents in our laptops, and we will be testing them on Neysa's GPU later today. So given that only 11% of enterprises have agents in production, what is the single biggest missing piece we don't teach in workshops? Is it the data, the governance, or the organizational culture? Anyone of you can volunteer to answer? Yeah.
Maybe I'll start from what we are seeing from
Sure.
across APAC. And from one of the biggest problems that we are seeing is pretty much all the data that we had in the world was built for human use, which was essentially means we stored them in structured, unstructured way, but essentially we made it accessible, queryable, usable for human and human eyes. Yes, we use technology so far, but majority of them was meant to make sure that we use data in the way we have already been using it for quite some time. But the biggest challenge that AI brought in is we can now leverage the unstructured data, which is documents, videos, other forms of data, which was so far completely kept out of the pretext of leveraging for solving human problems or for delivering value, which is where we are now seeing an exponential usage of data, which was being stored so far, being queried, accessed, vectorized, all forms and shapes in actually making full benefit of those, which now brings us to the part where data has now exceeded the way in which we are stored and queried so far. And organizations were never built for that. And now we are seeing a huge amount of data influx, which everybody's grappling with. Doing a POC on a small data set all works fine. But the moment you start pushing it into production, we are now talking about petabytes of data or terabytes of data for organizations. And how do we now make full use of those? And that's where people start realizing that the cost effectiveness of what they build to the value that it is delivering is where they start seeing a big gap. Second is the huge part where you could control data and data access so far through all forms and shapes because you had always human in the loop. But when you build agents, because agents are now a complex set of orchestration of multiple agents which are leveraging data across too many data silos and swarms, how do you control access? How do you make sure what does the AI get to see and not get to see? How much should be controlled? So are you trusting what's coming out of the pipe on the other side? That is where we see the two biggest challenges which every organization is grappling. These two challenges to be solved our data strategy. How do we make sure that the data is fit for the AI, not just for humans? And that is where we see the big change that every organization is trying to embark on now.
Oh, thanks, Rakshit. Who
Yeah,
else would
let
like
me go
to
again next.
mention?
So I think just adding to what was just mentioned, I think what we should not forget also about the data regulations in different parts. This is also data security. That's another topic which is rarely discussed, but very, very important. See, building agentic AI is pretty simple. It's not rocket science, but how to deploy it responsibly, ensuring security. What are the boundaries? So that is something which is still a challenge. And in a complex organization, as you said, the data is something, it's not simple. There are data lakes, there are multiple sources. There's also information in minds of people. How are they going to use all this together? It's very useful if you know how to use it. So this is also very important. For example, for students, for example, research. Earlier, you used to go through different documents, see videos. It used to take a lot of time. Now you can have hundreds of data sources, videos, articles, reports, and then you can ask AI to generate a summary of these things, and it all takes 15-20 minutes. So we are talking a totally different approach now. And this can be used at every level, not only for students. It can be used for individuals. It can be used by complex organizations. And many are already using it in different domains, in medical, in cybersecurity, for example, software development, banks, for example, they're using it already. Even at a chip level, I'm sure you're aware that at Edge AI, there are also agentic AIs, inference chips, AI chips are being designed right now as we speak. So one of the challenges is, as I said, data security regulations. Means region has got a regulation on data, plus the domain has a separate regulation. And that is something which is evolving. It's not really there. So that's also a big challenge in adapting these new solutions into organizations.
Thanks, Arun. You have brought one very important aspect into limelight, the forward deployed engineer. So actually, the students can be very happy feeling about it because we have seen announcements from the frontier AI organizations that about $10 billion is being pumped into ramping up forward deployed engineers recently in the last 1 month or so. So that's absolutely exciting news for the students as well as in the Indian industry, the services industry as a whole, because it is opening a new sea of opportunities. And as Rakshit appropriately pointed out, the 90% of the data in corporate was unstructured, living in PPTs, in emails, and now we are seeing the floodgates open. The data and the entire data is now open for use. So this their insights on this particular aspect. Who would like to go next? Mali or Raj?
Okay.
Ranganayake.
Okay, actually, I give a little bit. I will start with a little bit broader perspective or the global challenges going to create about it, and then I will try to come towards the student aspect or what there can be the potential opportunities. So, if I have to tell first, the AI is going to be the next nuclear power. What kind of people dominance want in nuclear power? 50 years back or post World War. Same is now going to be position of AI. So that kind of competition race, it's a lot of diplomacy, international politics, and whoever wins, they will make a first nuclear, and then again they will try to put restriction like how they are putting restriction on nuclear. This is kind of geopolitics is going to drive, and around that now a lot of things, a lot of restrictions are going to come. Another couple of challenges like now power. So what Bangalore city can consume a gigantic data processor can take. So that's a power war is going to happen because a lot of power is required for all this compute. And you have seen lately the memory prices shoot up. So memory is because you are generating memory also very huge amount. So the compute is one thing, but memory is going to be more in demand. So that's around, and how to optimizely use, and at the same time security. So the security is what the quantum. Again, it's not typical security we are. One way we are going on AI, other way we are also doing quantum. Quantum is so anything we are doing in AI, we should be quantum proof. That's a mix. Challenge it. And the challenge or student perspective, this is going to be like, if you can be expert and how optimally you can design, how small processing compute can how big AI, how your AI models can run on edge, how they can have API plug, so enable, disable, and still it can work. What are the power saving? What are the security? How you can make it more secure, and how you can build the this compute plus security aspect of your career. So if you can do something around compute is not going to be a problem. The security is going to be bigger threat. So antivirus, or they are going to be, because people are getting so much compute, and your mobile has to fight that data center. So your mobile compute has to fight at the data center. Your edge device has to fight that big competitor who's going to their fraud and snap and bank. So everybody, so no wonder going forward 5-10 years, people will have their own OS even for individual mobile, and they can control the keys and how they want to operate. And maybe they would like to develop their own OS based on this AI. I'm just giving a little bit broader perspective, so student can think how they can make their foundation basic, how they can, like earlier days when we were in college, we tried to focus how the fundamental of C++ programming. Now you have to focus on the fundamentals of AI, how I can make based of it, what suits, whether I'm a hardware, software, whether I'm a businessman, even I want to do how I can align my goals with the AI power and capabilities it is going to offer and challenge it is going to offer. I think that will help you to decide future paths. With that note, I pass back.
Well, thanks, Shivanand. That brought some aspects which we so far didn't discuss. The whole game is going to be a game of energy as well as compute power. And now, Ranganayaki, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the important topics, or one of the important observation that you will make when you actually move from making agents on these workshops or on these POCs to an actual production grade agentic system, right? So there would be two things that would be asked by your organization, or you would realize when you make such production grade agents. So the first important thing is obviously the data governance. For example, if you take the Nokia use cases, customers are not willing to share data. There is always critical information protection that is always in place, right? So um, we don't get the data that we actually want to make these agentic systems work in a way that they can, or they are capable of doing it. So you will always face data governance issues when you make production grade systems, and that is where you have to make a choice or an intelligent call of where I want to have the intelligence of the AI, and where there is a human in the loop needed, or there is domain knowledge that is needed. And then one more thing that you need to have are the guardrails. So when I make production grade agents, right, I cannot afford to have hallucinations or wrong answers or misguidance on the customer networks. So there is a lot of emphasis as an organization culture also in Nokia, that we make sure that there are enough guardrails when we make these agents or the self-driven agents for the autonomous networks or for the optimization, network optimization, and so on.
Thank you, Ranganayaki. As some person who is actually making it happen at the chip level, we highly appreciate your insights. Now, this workshop which we had here focused on the brain, hands, and memory architecture. Now, in your experience, and this question is open to all panelists, which of these three components is failing most often in enterprise AI projects? Because some of them gets abandoned at an amazing rate. Gartner will predict that 40% will fail by 2027. So what are your thoughts on this? Anyone can take the question.
Yeah. According to me, I think memory is one of the most, because the enterprise memory is a very complex scenario. There are a lot of data points which are there, and storing this, first of all, I think if you look at the fundamentals, it's basically the problem. So unless you define the problem clearly, you will not be able to use the data properly. And one should, for understanding the, kind of a business problem, you need to understand your domain well. And once you have this is the fundamental thing. Without this, you can't do anything. And then you need to see how can I use, because if you don't use it properly, as you said, it will just fade away. Because organizations look at what is the result, what am I getting out of this? And that is where you need to really understand which data is important. Will this solve my problem? And how can it work together? I think this is a main challenge which organizations are facing. And why we see a lot of projects being abandoned is because it's not being thought properly. You just don't get into AI. Building, as I said, is very simple. But even before that, you need to understand in deep depth your domain and the kind of challenge, because business challenges are always going to be there. Even like 10 years from now, you will have new challenges. So that is something important. I think so memory is one of the key things that I feel is one needs to focus on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Arun. As a person who is extensively traveling and meeting potential customers on a day-to-day basis, we highly appreciate your views. So who else would like to comment on this on the panel?
So I can take it, sir. So I think most of us here would agree that memory is the failure point because of the fact that so one basic thing that we need to also understand about AI is tools are there, models are there. We know that every week there are new models coming up with the parameters exponentially increasing and the tokens also increasing along with it. But what the basics that we need to understand is the context engineering, I think, right? So why these agents fail in production or why they behave in a non-deterministic manner is because of the fact that the context that we feed to it, right? So if you just rely on the LLM's output for your agents, then it will obviously fail because what we have practically seen is the context that you give to it is directly proportional to the output that the models are making, right? You give it more context, sometimes it tries to hallucinate. You give it the correct context, you get a kind of closer deterministic output. So I think to just answer your question in a word, memory is the one that makes it probably not appropriate most of the times.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. Okay. Shivarat, do you have any thoughts on this? Or,
Yeah, I think memory, of course, certainly memory is there, but that's not the only one. I will say the compute. For example, if the hardware is doing 3x3 matrix, 10x10 matrix, 100x100 matrix, and 1000x1000. So we can get all kind of engines, and maybe the last engine I designed for AI was a 100x100, and it's not the only one particular stack. What we try to develop is like 100 such engines, and along with 100 such processor and one single chip, and one such 8 chips will be sit on a board, and then a rack, and then server. So so hardware, if you understand that intent, why you are doing what you are doing and what scale it can take, Based on that, you have to do a system. Say, like when people try to design a computer or supercomputer, their computer may be failed. But if you're right intent and you design always with a little bit more buffer capacity and scalable capability, so that is you have to have, because AI is changing fast. So today when you start a thing and when actually you complete, by the time the requirements might have also jumped far further. So you have to have that foresight, what scale, what intent around it can take it. And based on you, if you design systems and important that you should not just give a try, because you are getting so much power, you have to use very reasonably and precisely. Then you only focus what the problem you must solve. When you must solve a problem, you will not, even if it is fails, you will go further and you will find a solution and you will go ahead. That's very important, because the intent will help not to fail, I will say. And just because of experimental, because typically, what happens, I would like to put this in terms of students, right? 1,000 people study 10th, few people crack set and then get into that. So there will be a lot of failures. Only people who are doing precisely, intentfully, and what it need to do and doing more, so that you still, even if it is a tough, it still sustain. Those people only qualify. Same happen with the AI agents or the whatever technology we develop. So with that note, student has to make sure that the design with the intent, with the design thinking, with the future insights and foresight, and parameters should be scalable. So at a point of time, it may happen, you may need to design a face recognition which runs on a small mobile, small camera, small CPU, or maybe it can run on the big machines where it is checking hundreds of others, thousands of others, and try to identify people. But as long as fundamentally it does, the compute and memory, it will just give you scale. It will not change the operation. So if we design with that intent, I think things will work out.
Oh, thanks, Mali. And that's coming directly from a chip designer. So
Yeah.
we are very fortunate to have these insights from people who are hands-on. Now, let me ask you another question, which is grappling the whole industry. The industry is pouring 700 billion into AI infrastructure, yet the per token billing model has been called an IP wealth tax that punishes enterprise. And also, this is cash flow has been something like the rules of physics, right? I mean, rules of or you can say rule of gravity or something like that. And companies are just forgetting or acting as if cash flow, they are forgetting the importance of cash flow kind. So they are pouring billions into infrastructure. And how should a student or researcher think about building an agent that creates measurable value rather than just consuming expensive tokens? So, would like to.
It's one of the biggest problems that everybody is trying to solve today. It's like the $1 million question or $1 billion question today, because the answer to this will essentially solve pretty much half the problems that we're all facing today. See, just to put things into perspective, right? If you take an F1 car race as an example, a typical F1 car generates around, it's got around 300 plus sensors on it, which is generating telemetry data. So on a typical race day weekend, a car generates around 1.5 to 2 terabytes of data. So which means we are now just for one car, and typically a team has two cars, and if you put all things into perspective, on a race weekend, we are talking about 400 to 500 terabytes of data that is being generated. So now, as an industry, we've all been sitting on gold mine for so long, and we've all been trying to make sure that we can leverage all of this to put to good use. So when AI came out and models became accessible, if you look at from 2022, 2023 to where we are, it's a 98% drop in per token cost and model accessibility. What was once considered to be highly scarce is now easily accessible. So everybody's on an overdrive to say we have models which are accessible, tokens which don't seem to be so expensive, and we went ahead and said, let's feed everything in the world that we have and build some innovative solutions. All of this brought us to the the front seat that you're asking the question about. Is all of this really generating value, and at what cost are we generating this, and is this becoming too expensive for us to sustain? Every model provider, everybody has gone overdrive to figure out and cut their token cost, and also figuring out how to restrict, because not sure if you have seen the reports, Uber spent pretty much their overall year's budget on AI in the first 4 months of the year. And if you think and choose, it's similar across every other industry or every other major enterprise. So people are now figuring out that it's not free, it is not sustainable for us to do what we are doing. So which means we need to really be very cautious in terms of taking a step back and saying, what's the value we are generating out of this? What do we really need for that? What kind of context is sufficient for those, to make sure that we don't boil the ocean for generating a drop of water, because that is not going to really give us value. So we need to be able to very cautiously start treading the wheels in terms of measurable outcomes. And for students in the room, which is now you have got access to pretty much all the latest and greatest, and it is no different from any large enterprise. So the models are pretty much accessible to pretty much anyone today. So which means now we have to really figure out how do we quickly start translating value by taking measurable outcomes and translating them quickly.
Oh, wonderful insight from Rakshit. Here, the participants, actually, some of the participants reached this conclusion after playing with the agent, that it is enormously token hungry, and to do a small thing, it takes so much of tokens. How are you going to? Who is going to fund these tokens? So, yeah, that was. So, who else? Anybody else would like to express your
Yeah,
views? Or?
just to add, I think probably a mindset change would be needed. I think instead of thinking of okay, how many tokens my agents use, you should ask the question, okay, what is the business outcome?
Yeah,
Because for $1 I spend, what is the kind of benefit I am getting? Okay, to the user, what am I giving to the user? And also it's not just about LLMs and all that, right? You need to, I mean, a kind of developer or designer needs to use a combination of LLMs tools, as required, and don't overuse it. So I mean, summarizing that, it will be like, when you create agents, do it by design efficiency, so define your agents efficiently so that it maximizes output at a lower cost, right? So I think again the definition is what is the value I'm going to bring in and how much is this measurable, and you work backwards, so that should be, according to me, that should be the approach.
Yeah, I don't know. You have, yeah, that's absolutely correct. And as Rishit was mentioning that tokens have become pretty cheaper now. But then I was remembering that OpenAI is spending $1.22 on every $1 revenue it makes. So once they are going to realize that cash flow is something that we should pay attention to, then where are we heading to? Then and then how to show the value at the end of the day will become our challenge. So let's now move on to the next question.
Yes, sir. I want to add something on this.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Welcome.
Hey,
Yeah.
I will say this. AI was never free. It was the value they were paying to get some data from you, and they're offsetting it without telling you.
Yeah.
Exactly what Joe did 2 years, giving free people to change the mindset of one byte, one message, to have a mindset of video play without background, even you don't care about that data. So getting habituated, getting used to it, getting more data, testing their capabilities, testing their competencies, making them more competent. Because when it is free, a lot of people will pull new data. Even small inquiry on an AI chat, it costs a few dollars to them, because it using GPU, it is going to search, then image. Even for fun, people are. And now you see the Geo people used to just a YouTube like that. Even they don't. They initially they used to watch carefully, but now even they are talking, they keep the video on. So people started exploiting AI for doing even silly thing they are not using. So now, but who is burning the cost is AI service providers. So that's how, and there are a lot of other demand where there are premium customers feeling the need of lack of compute. So that's how they started slowly blocking and then reducing. So it's all about economics. And the thing is that initial everything, every compute 5 years back was a costly. Now it will come very fast because now it's coming with scale. So, but at the same time, while the need or demand for the tokens will increase. So it's typically any other business case, demand and supply will be there, and eventually everybody want to make money. People are pulling, a lot of investing in even in institute. They invest huge infrastructure because they will say over the time I will rip it off. So this is again going to be another business, so people will try to make capitalize it, and at the same time when we think we have to make sure that, hey, instead of saving, people are going to take a call because a lot of organization initially offered AI and then now they stopped. But important thing, what I am going to save if I'm going to give one license to one engineer and I'm going to save 5 engineers cost, definitely it's worth a call and we are going good. So again, we are going to think economics and take a call based on that. So everything, like even we know Mangalyan, how we can optimally use fuel and energy. So token is new energy, it's new fuel. We have to use wisely.
Yeah, but
That's what I will
Maliu,
say.
the whole thing is not in our control, is what our participants discovered when they were chatting or making AI generate music, picture, it was still manageable. And now that they have installed agents into their laptops and the agents are just 1,000 times faster in spending tokens than you are. And that's where now the participants have realized that, yes, we have learned all this, how to do it, but now we don't know what to do now. Looking at the pace at which agents are working, it is still uncontrollable.
Yeah,
So,
sir. That's all.
next, yeah.
So
Yes.
see, it's like that's what I said. Like Geo gave, right? They made you taste. So now
Yeah.
they want to consume more and more.
Yes, we have become.
So they are generating. They have invested in you.
Yes.
To make the future business.
Yes.
So and you pay when you see the value, and you have to see what. So again, that's a good insight. You can control an agent, make an agent which can control the number of token it is going to consume optimal, like a fuel efficient engine. Your agent should be also efficient. I think that is what people now, if student understood it, they will understand the next. So they have to think again, deep think how we can optimize, because if this is your problem, that is everybody's problem. But you are the one who, if you can give solution, you become the have the edge to make you differentiate and win. For example, I want to say, even you see Meta, what they did, they hacked their best employees, how they program and all, and eventually did. So even people want to theft for the smart people, how they work, operate. So if you are using your AI, people, they are not just giving for free, they are offsetting to get something from you. So remember with that in a thought. Okay. So, and this is going to be more challenging and maybe not for long, because the next generation compute is coming in 2-3 years time. You see, again, it will be like a stock market now, demand and supply. So don't worry, but you think what you want to do. I think that should be. एक शाहरुख खान का डायलॉग है, अगर तुम किसी चीज को शिद्दत से चाहो कि सारी कायनात तुम्हारे पास आएगी. So don't worry about the resources. If you can do something really incredible, everything will fall in place. What you have to focus is what you can do and what you want to do efficiently and usable and something differentiating.
Yeah, thanks, Shivanand. On day one, we had a keynote speaker from Capital One. He was Senior Director of Machine Learning in Capital One. And he mentioned to me that there are 400 people in Capital One working on models, building models, fine-tuning them. And now he is building a router to decide to which LLM that queries should be channelized so that the token consumption can be optimized. Because the frontier models need not be, they are using cloud extensively in their organization, and the frontier models need not be utilized for all the tasks. So he is building a router, and I think already some open source routers have started appearing on managing this. Now, the next question is, GPUs have a shelf life of maybe I would say 2 to 3 years. Looking at the current scenario, which is shorter than a typical undergraduate degree. So how does this rapid depreciation change the way students should think about their career specialization? Should they specialize in hardware orchestration layer, or business case?
I don't think so. It's one of the above. I think so. It's about trying to find a balance between all of them, sir. Because if you really think about it, choosing one over the other, if you look at, I'm not sure if everybody saw SK Hynix went IPO and they had one of their biggest IPO and oversubscribed and everything else. Hardware, memory manufacturers, Samsung hardware also pretty much had this pretty much the same thing. So it's a cycle, and Nvidia's already gone through hardware and manufacturing and pretty much are catching up to the game, and they're pretty much taking the best of what it is. But what they're reaping today is what they invested 10, 15 years ago. It's not like that happened overnight that they're actually cashing in today. So which means investments need to be made ahead of time into large investment cycles like this. So for students here, obviously, there is a plethora of new opportunities which has been completely created because all of these three fronts that you pointed out, just like when cloud came out, cloud became so accessible, so cheap, so easy. You could just swipe a credit card and get started. Essentially, people started just going and deploying and putting new, because it was always hard to go through corporate red tape to say, how do I get access to a server to deploy something? But today, we are at a stage where anybody can just go spin up anywhere and quickly launch and start using it in a seconds. So, which meant essentially organizations went through this cycle where they had rapid acceleration, large teams getting access to things which they were never easily accessible, but also came in with a big bill shock. Everybody said, okay, FinOps became a very big thing. How do I now manage and control what's actually out there? How do I get visibility and accessibility into what's being done across teams? How do I optimize stuff? How do I get things better with what's being used across various teams in the organization? Like you pointed out, at Capital One being a large organization, pretty much the same with every other large organizations. New shiny toy always gets a lot of preference. Everybody wants to do and build on top of it, but the cost implications come very soon. So, which means how do we productionalize stuff? How do we run things? Because AI is not about building something and throwing over the wall and forgetting about it. It needs to be constantly kept up to date. It needs to be managed. It needs to be governed. A lot of these are stuff which currently is being figured out as we see. That is where I see a huge amount of optimization that's going to come across the next 3 to 5 years, which is in terms of how do we run stuff in production, which is something which is stable, which is secure and cost optimal. So this space is definitely going to explode for sure. But like you said, the hardware stuff is never going to go out of shape. It's always about how do we make sure that we definitely re-engineer what we are doing today because we cannot print chips much faster. So there is always the gap that we have in terms of we can build great designs, but putting it into production is something that's going to take time. So that is where the second optimization definitely will happen, sir.
Thanks, Rakshit. And that the example that you brought, you mentioned about the SK Hynix is really uh, uh, mind blowing because now the three companies, SK Hynix, Samsung, and Micron, are essentially controlling who should have the infrastructure, who should have the memory chips, and how fast this race can go. Right? I mean, as you said, you cannot print memory just like that. So they have to decide how soon they can churn out HBM memory and stuff like that. Now, I would like to ask the audience here, are there any questions? If you have questions, please raise your hand, and Harshit, please hand over the mic to them. So, okay, how will you hear that question? Yeah, please come over, come here and ask the question. Yeah. Yeah, you can take the mic and then please come here and ask the question. Yeah, you can. No, better to speak from here. Please introduce yourself and then
Hi, I think
yeah, that mic is on.
I think it's on, no?
Okay. Nice.
Panelists, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Excellent. It's a honor to be standing in front of such panelists with a lot of experience and caliber. My question is that of course, when you think about the cost of an LLM, we are aware, but we don't pay much attention to it. It's usually associated with maybe liters of water that going into this. But except for activists, not many people actually pay attention to the cost of using an LLM. I have been also using it extensively to code. I built something, but it took me a month and a half because of all the prompting and fine tuning. But the agents, the agentic AI, the cost is receiving a lot of attention. What is it really going towards? I mean, for LLMs, it is water for cooling the servers and all that. I mean, this might be a very detailed answer, but yeah, that's my question. Physically, what is it going towards and resource-wise? Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so I think for agentic, yeah, okay. So for agentic, if you want to draw a comparison, it is not only about LLM's cost, like Shivanand was also saying, it is also about the infrastructure cost, right? So you need the needed infrastructure. So what we have realized, at least in Nokia, is that it is not only the GPUs that you need. You also need an equally dimensioned CPUs to support your workloads, because CPUs are not going to do all the works, right? So they are direct memory access, and they're going to do some parallel processing and so on. But you still need your core CPUs, the threads and so on. So, and then the needed orchestration on top of that, right? And then the layers or the agents that are sitting on top of the orchestration layers. So what we have realized is you need a big infrastructure, or you need a layered infrastructure for you to support multiple production grade agents running on the systems. So this is one place where you will hit a roadblock, or where you will see that the cost becomes unmanageable when you want to actually make your whole product agentic, in an agentic mode, or agentic AI based stuff. And one more thing, what we are also realizing in the networking domain or in the telecommunications domain is that the moment you start building layers, right, it adds to latency as well, right? It is not, for example, the current Nokia products, the radio units or the basebands, they're running on Nokia built hardware, the custom hardware, and then you have the system on chips that are running all your software or all your processing, the layer processing, the layer 2 processing, and so on. But the moment you have these kind of layered architecture that is built in, you may not have the same the latency requirements, or you may not have the same kind of ease of deployment, and the business model changes, right? So we are more and more becoming a software company than a telecommunications company, because there are so many players out there. When you want to build a layer, there are hyperscalers, there are GPU makers, there are CPU makers, and then we end up being the last layer in the whole ecosystem. So these are some of the things that you will actually see when you go towards agents
Yes,
in a
yes, thanks.
production.
Thanks, Ranganayaki. And that's one point which we often gloss over in the last glozed over in the last 3 days. The importance of CPU. Now that the agentic paradigm has set in, CPUs are assuming an equally important role, and I see that the NVIDIA's Vera Rubin architecture is allocating one CPU for every 2 GPUs. Right, it's as important. So
that's why
a
AMD
lot of
shares are skyrocketing.
I think
Yeah,
I want to add, sir. So okay,
so Ranganai, can you mention that again? AMD did what?
No, that's why AMD shares are skyrocketing, I said. They're making the
no,
CPUs.
I think there is some
AI
more
workloads.
myth to it. So AMD acquired one technology company. I forgot her name, but it's a Canadian company, which used to do AI CPUs, like AI engines, okay, custom AI engines, and they acquired Antither. The name is Antither. So they acquired that company. So okay, so I would like to focus. See what happened. So far, we want to do AI, and we don't have. So the AI need a lot of data handling. So let me give a little bit of why NVIDIA become suddenly, bigger than the Intel. So AMD classically people focus more on CPU and to handle big data and video. Typically, video needs or imaging need a lot of gaming needs a lot of huge data. So that's how GPU were made. So they were having engines we can handle big data, but they were still, and AI is a combination of mix. Okay, AI some places you need because how AI work? You give a particular item, then it want to build around something. It go dig up a lot of data, mine the data, and then try to create some summary and some pattern out of it, and then that you called model is trained. So you need have small functions, precise function, and then you have to scale and jump deep dive in a C and get something which can be fit to produce what you want. So and most of these engines require the matrix multiplication because all you are having a lot of functions in behind it, right? So typically supported by a matrix. So if you go to the maths basic again, matrix multiplication can happen to make that training and deep learning and all need to be done. So instead of CPU doing that, it's complex. They started using GPU, and that's become the immediate. And if you heard that they develop us this particular AI model for the open AI, which is very small, and even NVIDIA mentioned, NVIDIA CEO mentioned that what is the success of that? How they catered a small customer, which is again an NGO, to make a GPU for them. Our AI engine for them, and that's how it started. It's not that they started 16, not in 220. They started 16. The journey started in 2016. So now the new AI engines are coming with the AI engines which are having a matrix multiplication as a powerful component. How they are quickly connected to the HBMs and all to access the data. So going forward, the new engines are, new competitors coming with the AI engine base plus GPU and CPU. So now in terms of when I was designing a server for that, then we call it the XPUs. It can be CPU, GPU, and APU. It can be combination of all. So that's how it's going to be a journey. And maybe there will be NPUs, that X also NPUs. Some neural also will be there. So I will call it as a XPUs. So name it. And then you can make a combination based on the end applications. For example, there can be like a deep packet inspections also engines. There are certain applications. So banking will have, for example, banking application needs something differently. The vision and AI applications need something. Analog, automation needs something. So everything will be customized, and then the combination of it will decide the efficient engines. Yeah, thank you.
So Ranganayaki mentioned that AMD stocks are skyrocketing, and I feel personally very happy about it because I'm an ardent supporter of the millions of people around the world who would like to end the tyranny of NVIDIA holding us hostage. And several people are with the same thought process. I think Qualcomm just spent $4 billion on last month acquiring Modular to make this happen, to make this a reality. Yeah. So, by the way, the panelists, sorry, are here
Sir, one
available.
point I missed. Sir, one point I missed, which is very crux. Why NVIDIA, AMD? See, earlier when they were not able to compete with the Intel, they developed a inter-chip connect technology. So small chips still can meet the compete, but they have the within the chip they can have multiple processor and connected. So that becomes now the way of designing chips now, and that's how their technology and their learnings is now actually capitalized. So what Rakshit said, that how it takes years to capitalize that technology. NVIDIA also, AMD is benefiting from that. The technology they developed to compete the Intel, now they're actually reaping because they have to cluster a lot of CPUs within that chip. So that's again long-term investing and how it is reaping today.
Okay. Thank you, Shivanand, for your insight. So we have some questions from the online participants. So one of the question is this: how edge inferencing is taking shape? I see telco, space tech, Leo, edge inference is taking shape. How in telco and space tech is taking shape, and what impact small language models has and growth around it?
Yeah. Um, yes, I think this is a very relevant question for the era in which we are in. So, edge inferencing is having a lot of attention. So, if you think of the Nokia business case that we have, so the moment we said, okay, we are going to make baseband processing run on GPUs, right? The biggest question that has come to us as architects designing the next generation product is that how are you going to monetize, right? So what additional capabilities will you give the operators like Geo or like Airtel in terms of edge inferencing, or in terms of latency requirements, in terms of XR VR? So how can you help us monetize if I have to move towards a GPU based infrastructure, right? So then we are thinking about, so I don't know if you've heard, there are three pillars, I would say, in which we are looking at it. So there is AI on RAN, there is AI un-RAN, and then there is AI for RAN. So these are the three strategic pillars where we are working with, right? So when you say AI for RAN, this edge inferencing, for example, becomes a very important topic. So people are asking, okay, how can you make, for example, integrated sensing at the edge so that the UEs have a very good user experience, right? How can you make it possible? Can you run LLMs on your GPUs? Right, so that or can you run even the user plane function, the distributed UPF, on your GPUs, on your baseband itself, so that the packets don't have to go to the core and come back, right? So how can you make the XR experiences or physical AI, the robots, all of that getting inferred at the edge without having to make this whole packet, round to the core and coming back? But coming to SLMs, this part we have to explore it a little more. But what I can already say is companies are looking at having their own models instead of using the available models and leaking information or paying huge cost to them. The companies have already started looking at, for example, can you take a base, but then you deploy it on your local premises and make the models yourself, train the models for your needs, for your domain, so that you don't end up paying too much cost, and it also becomes more context aware and more domain aware and so on. So these are some things that are already happening, I can.
Thanks, Ranganayaki. And the same thoughts are with most people in India now. Why we should, I mean, how we should, the whole nation is thinking about how we can have sovereign models, and companies, individuals, everybody is wondering how we can have, even students and researchers in this room, they are thinking how I can run an SLM model in a platform agnostic. Uh, we can run now models in Mac. We can run in models in any platform, right? I mean, it's not only NVIDIA card, GPU card that we need to run. And looking at the enterprise and institutions, how we can have host GPU infrastructures, and what is the best way, what is the most optimal way to run low cost
Yes.
infrastructure is the question in everybody's mind. Now, now, there's one question in the chat. There are many that's coming from Professor Kashi Vishwanath, who is attending this remotely. There are many advertisements are poured on us. Learn Claude, Chat GPT, Gemini, Google, now Agentic AI agents building using Hugging Face model. What's the roadmap for students to catch up career?
It's a
Yeah, I
like
mean, yeah, sorry.
go on, Arun.
Yeah, I mean, I said, see, these are all products, so products keep changing, right, evolving. I think I think we should understand how AI works, So I think the fundamental knowledge is what we should focus on first, because tools are all enablers. You can use, I mean, for example, now there is Perplexity, if anybody's using it. It uses about 18, 19 models. So which means like you give a task, it'll check what is best, which part can be given to Google Notebook LLM, which can be used by cloud, which can be used by. So, these kind of things evolve, right? You have this concept of coworker also. So I think it's more important. So first, your domain. whichever domain you're focusing on, be an expert, because there will be business problems always in that. So for students, I think it's, if they're focusing on certain domain, focus on that. If it is medical, telecom, focus, become an expert on that. Secondly, use these, understand AI, first of all, like, become AI literate, how it works, how can I use it, and then use these tools to kind of improve your productivity. That's what will make the difference. Students should focus on that.
Thanks, Arun. Being a business manager most of your life, I mean, your emphasis on the learning of domain is not a surprise. Yeah, Rakshit, you want to add anything to that, or?
No, I was just going to say it's a means to the end, because without we realizing and going into the, because when things get launched, they're always new. When ChatGPT came out, everybody built new business saying image generators, PowerPoint creators, new business models got created overnight. But if you see today, the platform evolved, they've all been completely taken over. So, which means pretty much your business can completely go bust without you being very rock solid on the fundamentals of what are we building, what are the pain points we are trying to solve, and is this something that's scalable? Because without that, will the if you have a strong foundation of what you're building, that can be taken, evolved, and used for any domain, any industry, or any use case. Because you understand what to do, how to do, is just about making sure that putting the building blocks together, creating a proper orchestration across, and having the workflow in such a way that it can scale and meet any business demands.
Thanks, Rakshit. Thanks, Rakshit. So, an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur yourself, you are most qualified to advise students on how they should be taking this up. Now, Professor Harshvardhan, who is joining remotely, sir, I have made you the co-host. You can please unmute yourself and ask the question directly.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very
Put
much
on your
for that
video.
question.
Yeah.
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 So,
Yes.
hope I'm audible.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you
sir.
are very much audible. Yeah.
So, this is Dr. Harshvardhan. I am Dean for School of AI in VIT Bhopal University. I'm also a professor here in computer science. So, my question to the members, wherever I go, I ask this question. As a dean, as a professor, I'd like to see my students' future. See, every day, every some new technology is coming in. Students have to be master at that. So some of them are also afraid what their career will be. Earlier, a software engineer can simply develop some programs in C++ or Java or those things. But now the thinking level is more abstract. So how do you see yourself? How do you see the students' future, their career will be? That is my first question. And second question is how these technologies will give a improve the common man's life. So we are all talking about these technologies only from the business perspective. That is my opinion. Some of my friends and other colleagues also, they have the same opinion. How this is going to improve a common man life? Say, for example, there is a farmer. Uh, Even though we talk about many things like edge computing or sensors, IoT, and other things which are used in agriculture, so far it has not come to the reality, right? So the same goes with other fields also, like medicine. In medicine, there are so many technologies are coming up, but how an actual patient is getting benefit out of this? We are talking about road safety, computer vision models are there. This is my second question. When this will improve the common person, lifestyle, or it is going to improve? These are my two questions. Thank you for that.
I can take the first question, sir. So, in terms of the students thinking about, okay, if I think of me 23 years before when I joined, all of us used to join as a developer, right? As a junior developer, and then became senior developers, and then we became lead architects, and that's how our journey of our in the respective industries look like, right? But now, what I think is with AI coming in, only the roles change. Probably the jobs are not going away. You still need to understand the basics. You still need to understand code, right? Even if you're not coding yourself, even if you don't have to remember Python syntaxes, C++ syntaxes, or you didn't have to spend months understanding a language, all that is gone now. But you still need to take a role of a code reviewer, for example, if I just give an analogy, right? So you cannot check in, or the AI code probably is still not production grade, right? It may not have handled use cases, exception scenarios. It may not have the complete knowledge of the requirement that you're giving in, and so on. So you just the AI, for example, has only created new roles, I would say. You need to probably, you'll start your career as a architect, as a solution designer, or as a product inventor, or as a code reviewer. So only the roles change, but the technology or the nice skill that you have as these generation students will remain as it is. And there is nothing, I think, that we need to worry about in terms of what will we do going forward.
Okay.
So maybe just to add a simple analogy to it, that is, you always had instruments and tools in your hand. Now you have been given power tools. Nothing has changed. If people don't know how to use it, end of the day, and what to do with that, because AI will hallucinate to hell. And we need to be all pragmatic about the applications of what it can do. There are practically innumerable scenarios in which any use case can be thought about. And what human with domain knowledge and an industry experience would think would be something which AI cannot match. It is nowhere close to comparison about solving all possible use cases and scenarios. So, which means if it has given you something back, to judge whether it is crap or useful or it can be put into production is actually a human in the loop. And that part will never change or go away for a long time to come. So if people are not skilled enough, do not understand what is being written or what's been actually the output of that, cannot synthesize the scenarios, then we're all going to struggle. So as students in the room, the most important part for anybody is to make sure that if you need to review something that's been output there, you need to be knowledgeable enough to actually write something similar. So that part
Yes,
is not changing.
I always advocate for any technological advancements. I don't agree with people who try to say on the negative side of any new advancement. I just think that now the level of thinking has become more abstract, I think so. Now people, as you said, people should start using how to use these AI tools. Only then they can survive. I think now that has become normal state of the quo, I think so. So
Yeah,
anybody can
I think
answer the
Yeah.
second question. I mean, how it
I,
is going to affect
yeah,
the normal.
just quickly to add on to this, I think it's not only for students, it's for every
Yeah, yeah,
engineer,
yeah.
at all
People,
levels.
yes,
So I think as long as you understand the business challenges, problems, looking at things from an architectural point of view, I think, and making use of tools, because you have to make use of tools, otherwise you will be left behind at any level, even student level, also at an engineer level with 10 years, 15 years, it's the same thing. Personally, in the business development, go-to-market strategies, usually it used to take a couple of months to develop a strategy for a new product or a new approach. But now I can do it in 20 minutes, provided I put the facts and the context in place. So that is a big
Just
advantage
to
for me.
add that again. So whenever new technology comes, new things, there is a learning curve. And that learning curve will be same for somebody's experience also, or somebody's new also. And that is where the freshers get more opportunity, because they are fresh, they are freshly focusing on new technology, and they can catch up fast compared to the experienced people. And couple of experienced people have reluctance to adopt the new technology, and that's how more opportunity come. Somewhere who adopt, they become better, and some who don't adopt, that create a space where the new guys get the entry and they get a supporting role. And that's how. So you should be feel blessed that AI is came now. That's a new window open for you. And whenever new technology comes, you are gambit. Like whenever you reach a site, you can see more. The earth is bigger and bigger. So like opportunities will be bigger when you. But you have to have that mindset that if something is coming, I have to adapt. I have to be ready. And if you can run, catch up, then you catch the bus. If you don't, then you miss the bus. And then you should not cry for missing the bus. So only thing is that you have to be ready. And as sir, I agree with most of the people here. What they said, the problems are domain problems are be doing. just because AI came, Nokia is not going to change Nokia is going to be their infrastructure business, network business. OpenAI can't take that. So they are such, or not the AMD is going to replace just because OpenAI has how these smart engines is going to aid, and the ecosystem is going to become better. There will be few new players, there will be some old players, and the world will go on. So you should see now you are the new player, and you have to look that, and you have to prepare for that better challenges. And you starting with the AI itself, you have a lot memory. Like a fresh computer starts, it's easy to run new things compared to the old computer which already occupied, and there need to be created space. So you have to, as a students, you have to see this as opportunity and do your best and go with your whatever vision, whatever expertise, or whatever domain you choose. Just do based in that.
Thank you. Thank you. Panelists, I have run, I have overrun the time. I have taken permission from you already by 5 minutes. So do you have 10, 15 minutes more, panelists, or do you have a hard cutoff at 11? So we have
I'm okay. I have time.
one or two questions more. If you need to leave, let me know. So can I assume that I can take 5 or 10 minutes?
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yes,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Thank you. So there's one question in the maybe I don't know, Arun can take this question. Is it viable to make domain-specific AI engine chips, AI router chip? What is your take? Which part of the layer should be made chip? So
Yeah, I think what I see in the market now is there are a lot of startup companies who are developing chips for specific domains. And also they have both like edge AI, AI inference chips as well as AI chips, which means LLMs or SLMs can work much better, much faster, less latency. This is already happening now, and you can see that in the market very soon. Not only in telco, but also in, for example, like wireless. We could also in space, for example. There are a lot of things happening. Medical, for example. These are currently under development. I know that companies like Broadcom, there is designs going on currently. My peers, they are working on this, some of them, and this is going to come. So it's just a matter of time, I would say. And this makes a big difference because for that particular, it can also address regulatory needs in some cases, standardizations, plus it makes things faster.
okay, thanks, Arun. So it would be an injustice on my part if I don't give Mali another 1 minute to answer this question, being a chip designer himself. So Mali, can you quickly, a one-liner, you can add your contribution to this?
I think I will just tell, when I was in college, my professor, when I was joining embedded, that every user have two, three device, then eventually it will have a 20 device. So now we say one individual can have more devices, then more customized needs. And I say there are people who like Apple, there are still people using Vivo. There are still people using Nokia mobile. So there will be wide the population use, there will be demand use, and our purchase priority is going up. So what couple of years a king can offer, that common man is getting more than that. So now you see that. So everybody can afford more, better and better technology. So people will go more gadgets. There will be more option people want to have, and that's the business go on. And that's going to be keeping us alive next couple of years. I think that will give a little bit bigger insight, and chip will evolve around that. And that's how, especially with our ISM, India will see more chip designers and chip companies, and that's a huge opportunity for us.
Thanks, Mary. So one last question in this panel discussion. Looking ahead, this is coming from Pranjul, who is a faculty member in RV University. Looking ahead, where do you think the biggest engineering challenges will be? Is it model capability, agent orchestration, evaluation, reliability, memory, or AI safety? And based on that, how should students prioritize their learning over the next few years? And this is coming from Professor Pranjul Shukla. So yeah, probably partly you might have answered, but you can.
Yeah, I think so. The biggest will be the AI safety, which is around how do you make sure that, because putting anything into production and putting something like, for example, putting into healthcare, saying that this is going to help in diagnose a patient's disease much quicker, faster, better. But you can do 100 right diagnosis, but one wrong diagnosis can actually put it into a big problem. So, which means the cost of things failing is not something that people can actually afford to, because it is people's life at risk. Same goes earlier question, which was like, why are we not seeing a lot of customer benefits of AI today immediately? Though things are happening in those sectors where the potential impact is a bit lesser. That's why you see a lot of chatbots, customer success, customer support based, where though it's important, it's not life threatening, where it in those cases where it's actually being used the most. So AI safety will hold a lot in terms of whether things will become reality a lot quicker and faster. Because it's not about, do we have the chips, do we have the models, do we have people who can actually build on top of it? All of those are great, but how do we run it at scale for billions of users with the vast amount of data that keeps changing, and to making sure that it works in the context of where you're running, for which customer, which country, and where it's being done. So that's the biggest thing that's going to dictate whether things will really be successful or not.
Thanks, Rakshit, for that extremely valuable insight on which is the one most important thing that we should be paying attention to. We have one very last final question coming from Ebin, who is coming from industry and who has come all the way to attend this conference in person. Ebin, please ask the question. Yes.
Yeah, hi team. I'm Ebin. I work as a senior software developer at Conceptia Technologies here in Bangalore. So mostly we work and it goes without saying that the data confidentiality and factual precision aspect is crucial in this domain. So this is about a practical outlook of a point which was earlier discussed in this talk, the question about reliability and hallucination aspect of AI agents in sensitive domains. So in domains like the ones I just mentioned, where a wrong output has a real world cost, do you see agentic AI moving towards full autonomy, or this human in the loop as a permanent architecture, the more realistic long-term state? That was my question. Thank you.
Yes, I think human in the loop is the must. We don't foresee any autonomous agents ruling the world as of now, or even 20, 30 years down the line. Right. So, like all of us would have experienced in our day to day life, or even in these 2 days of workshop, with a lot of hallucinations and assumptions that these models make, right? So, unless you have a good context where engineered prompt, I can already see that it actually takes you in a different direction, even for smaller use cases.
Yeah.
So, I think human in the loop is a must, sir, and that would remain.
Yeah, just to add to what you're saying, of course, human in the loop is necessary, but I think we can differentiate into two categories. One are repeatable regular tasks which
Yes.
don't need any, human intervention, can be done automatic. So typically a system will have multiple agents. So these kind of repeatable tasks can be automated, but decision-making things, definitely human is needed as of now.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll evolve,
I
but
think,
as of now,
yeah.
yeah.
I think we should remember that human intelligence is always superior to the artificial intelligence.
Yeah, there's a lot for AI chips to catch up, or AI LLMs.
Yeah, one day maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, absolutely. So it has been a very fantastic morning today for us, and thanks a lot, all of you, for joining from different geographic locations. So now I hand back the session to our MC to formally deliver the concluding speech. Yeah.
Let's give our panelists another well-deserved round of applause. Thank you for an engaging discussion and for sharing your insights on how and where agentic AI is headed and the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. It's always inspiring to hear perspectives from the leaders working at the forefront of the technology. Now, we'll take a short tea break and reconvene at 11:45 a.m. for our next hands-on session. See you shortly.
Thank you, panelists. It has been absolutely fantastic experience. Thank you for joining from Singapore, Germany, and Shivanand from North India. Thanks a lot. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Ranganayaki as well.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
sir.
much. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.